Should be live.
Excuse me.
Oh, excuse me, just in case. Oh, good. Just said he. That's awesome.
Trying to help. We're getting there, man. We're moving forward.
So we're ready to start? You guys let me know.
All right, everybody ready?
All ready.
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach held Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. We will have a roll call. Councilmember Posterly.
Here.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember McInnes.
Present.
Vice President Treston. Here. President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of Acting City Manager Ronald Walsh and Corporation Counsel Charles Geiger. We will now have a salute to the flag.
All right, I'm going to ask John McNally out in the Peanut Gallery to lead us. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first meeting of the spring. So we're getting close to summer. Today was the first full day of spring, and Mother Nature gave us a pretty good one. So with that, why don't we start with the city manager's report.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. As I do with each meeting, I want to go through some of the issues that came up from our last meeting and provide some feedback to our residents who may have asked some questions. Last meeting, we had a very large contingent of people who showed up with regard to the potential of the Equinor project coming through and the wind farm project offshore. I want to start out this meeting by making sure that everybody in our community knows that, you know, we hear our community and we're listening. We're not sitting up here, we're not pretending not to listen or that we're deaf to the concerns that are here. There were questions that were asked as to whether or not we could put on our Long Beach homepage a page that attached to the Equinor projects. We did one better. We actually created a page on our homepage called, it's longbeachny.gov/wind. If you go on that page, it gives you links to all of the documentation that's up, the environmental studies, and a lot of information you could read for days. We were also asked if we would be able to establish some sort of communication. So what we did is we put up an email address for the city specifically. It's called wind@longbeachny.gov. And what that is for any questions or anything you want to bring really to the attention of the administration. It's not really for two-way communication. It's for you to say, this is our concern, so that we can have it in our hands as an administration. We have people assigned to go through this to make sure that we have it, and so that it can inform the dialogue and the concerns that the residents of the city have. You know, we do fully understand that there are potentials here for impact to the city of Long Beach, and we don't want to do anything, nor will we do anything that's going to, in our estimation and expertise after we're finished, that will negatively impact the city. We've interviewed 3 experts that we're probably going to be onboarding within the next week. We have an expert in the energy sector to look out for the interest of the city and the residents of the city. We have a zoning expert that can help us to understand the impacts of the way this could affect our streets and our zoning and financially. And we also are engaging with another council to help us sort of be the eyes and ears over both of those 2 entities to look at it from a business perspective, as well as, you know what, we've been doing this a long time and we think you consider this X, Y, or Z. You know, I don't want to speak in specifics because we haven't engaged them, but we have already engaged consultants Nelson Pope Voorhees, which are our zoning consultants. They do it's a very large consulting firm, and they're going through right now, it's going to do a deep wash or deep scrub of all of the environmental impact studies that Equinor has filed. And what they're going to do is read every single page of these documents. They're going to look at everything that's been put up, look at all the Article 7 submissions that they've done, and to see if we agree with the way Equinor is saying they're going to affect our environment and the environment here in Long Beach and along the route and what they're doing. So we have a lot of experts that are going to be looking at this. We're not taking this lightly or in any way, shape, or form as a run-of-the-mill, this is a done deal. That narrative we really would like to change. There is no done deal. What there is here is a engaged council, an engaged administration that plans on making sure that the interests of this city are appropriately addressed before any decisions are made. So I wanted to give some feedback about that. We had some questions. I believe it was Nora Egan. I don't have everybody's name from last time, but I do know Nora asked this question several times in two different meetings about Long Beach Boulevard and Park Avenue, and I didn't have the statistics for her with regard to the way we're doing enforcement activities there. So since the 1st of January, we have done 55 what's called directed patrols at that location. 50 directed patrols at that location with the issuance of 55 summonses from everything for going through the red light, disobeying traffic control, not wearing your seatbelt, being on your cell phone, you name it, we've written a ticket there. Illegal turns, the whole thing. So we are very much on top of that intersection. It is, unfortunately, the #1 accident-prone location in the city of Long Beach. It's a very complicated intersection, and it is very difficult to cross the street there, so the police department is doing what we can. We also reached out to the county again. I spoke to their Department of Public Works. They are still planning on doing an entire reconstruction of that intersection, as well as much of Park Avenue and Long Beach Boulevard to make it safer and better for traffic. So I have been told that when that gets a little bit closer to their project list that's going to start, we'll have some input as to what happens there. We also had several people talk about, and I received a couple of emails about this as well, the Long Island Railroad schedule with regard to our busing, and that our buses did not really align with the railroad schedule. There was a lot going on with the railroad and the MTA when they started up the new East Side Access. They canceled some trains here, and the service became a little bit sketchy and unreliable at the time. So that schedule has stabilized, and we have now aligned our bus schedule to be in alignment with the railroad. So, and it's also been posted up on our website so that people can have an easier transit and ways to get in and out of the city. The last piece that we did is we met with the New York State Department of Housing and with Governor Hochul's team, and we had a Zoom call, and I'll turn it over to Council President Bendo right now just to give a little bit of the insights that were there. It was, I wouldn't say it was anything earth-shattering that gave us information. This is all about the transit-oriented development that the governor's office is trying to implement with regard to around train stations and the half-mile radius. So, John, if you want to talk about that.
Sure. So if you haven't been following in the news, Governor Hochul has proposed that every municipality on Long Island increase their housing stock by 3% over the next 3 years, and with a focus on doing it within a half a mile of train stations to do transit-oriented development. So the team, including the State Housing Commissioner and her staff, I guess, is doing the rounds. So they requested a Zoom call with the council and the city manager, which we did. And I guess I'll say it probably went a little differently than they thought it was, because they thought they were going to come in and tell us why we needed to add housing, to which we kind of turned around and said, well, Nassau County has about 16% of their housing stock is rentals. In Long Beach, it's 42%. And not only that, we got 300 and I'm sorry, 422 additional units going up on the super block, some more on Park Avenue. So we kind of said, come talk to us when everyone else catches up to us.
Yeah, we had, I think, someone in the area of 475 units. I think their total request was to get us around 508. So we're within that striking distance and already qualify
Right.
if they do actually give grant money, to receive grant money to the city as well.
Yeah, the key component here is that what they would like to do, not saying they're going to do it yet, is if a municipality does not hit the goal it's been given, that there will be basically like a state zoning board that could overrule the local zoning board to allow developers to do projects that municipality might not otherwise do. So you can guess that doesn't go over very well with people. So again, I think we're in a much better situation than many other municipalities on Long Island just because of the nature of our housing stock and what we got going on right now. So I don't expect it to impact us very much. Can't speak for what's around us, who's maybe doesn't have as much active housing market as we do, but that about sums it up. They didn't ask for any follow-up or anything, so.
They did mention that they do have $250 million for infrastructure projects related to transit-oriented development, and they're thinking about more. I did mention to them that we have a comprehensive plan that's in process, and we also have a grant for community revitalization within the commercial area. So we have a few projects that are going on simultaneously in the same area, and that we would appreciate that funding in order to help with our rezoning and other processes, and they were more than happy to consider that.
Yeah. So just wanted to inform you on that. All right, so.
That concludes my city manager's report. Thank you.
All right, and I guess I'll just add just two more quick things. One, want to wish Councilwoman Treston a happy birthday.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
She turned 29 today. And also, just so people know.
That was a little too loud of a laugh. I am 28.
Me too.
And also, people may know that if you were here for the last meeting, we engaged a consultant that helped start with a city manager search. So the council has started working with that consultant. We're in the process of developing a profile for what we would need in a new city manager based on the city's current needs and skills we think that person needs to have. So that's underway right now. Other than that, I guess we can move on to the agenda, and we've got a public hearing to start.
All right, so on to the public hearing of item number 1, ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding special events.
All right, you going to talk about it, or it's easy, but.
Good evening. The bulk of this item was already voted on, and there was some concern over the lack of discretion to refund permit fees should an event not go off. It was felt that that would be inequitable, and this is the fix. It returns discretion to the city, and the city will, its city manager, city clerk, et cetera, will determine that issue.
It also permits the city not to require the payment of the estimated expenses up front. For the concern was mentioned by some of the council members that, what if it's a new organization and they don't have the money and they need the event to take place? So that was part of the issue as well.
All right, I'll open the public hearing, and we'll start any questions from the council. All right, seeing none, any from the public? Okay, then we'll close the public hearing. On to item 2.
Right, so now on to the calendar. Item number 1, ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding special events. A hearing has been held on this item. Item number 2, resolution authorizing the retention of consulting services.
All right, we have an amendment for this resolution. In the third whereas clause, where it says, providing accounting support services for a 1-year duration, comma, let's take the end of the sentence, at a cost not to exceed $75,000, move it after that comma, put a comma after the 75,000, and the rest of the sentence remains the same.
Okay.
I move.
Who seconds? All right. Councilmember Passerly?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes.
So the item is self-explanatory. It's accounting services that are required at this time for our city comptroller's office to do necessary accounting-related practices in that office.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Seeing none. Any from the public? All right, seeing none. On to item 3.
Item number 3, resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into intermunicipal cooperation agreement with the County of Nassau to receive funding for the purchase of a Zamboni and related items.
So this item, the city had been experiencing quite a few issues with our current electric Zamboni that cleans the ice, to the point where our Zamboni went down, and we actually had the village of Freeport kind enough to loan us their backup Zamboni so that we can keep our ice and our ice operations going. Legislator Ford, who's in the audience tonight, good evening, legislator, she came to us and offered an intermunicipal agreement to cover the cost for the Zamboni for the city of Long Beach so that we'd be able to have our ice operations not be interrupted. And, yep, absolutely. So this intermunicipal agreement will actually help the city tremendously in that regard in our recreation center operations.
All right, any questions from the council?
I have a question. I know last year during the capital budget process, I had asked whether or not we needed to purchase a new Zamboni, and I was told we didn't. So I was wondering if this year in the capital budget, we will also plan to purchase a Zamboni, because we are not sure when this Zamboni will arrive, i.e. 23 or 24.
So we have not included in the current capital budget the purchase with the anticipation of this happening. Typically, it takes the county several months to actually pass this through. If there is a need for a Zamboni purchase, which I don't anticipate because our Zamboni is finally working, we were planning on supplanting the money that we were going to use for that. So there's no scheduled purchase right now. As a matter of fact, part of an intermunicipal agreement is you can't spend any of the money until the legislature actually gives you approval to spend that money. When they pass through their process, it's at that point in time that we're allowed to spend it. So we wouldn't be allowed to do that anyway.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any questions from the public?
Legislator Ford.
Legislator Ford.
Denise Ford, 36 Ohio. It was my pleasure to be able to enter into this agreement with the city in regard to this Zamboni. And I want to thank Commissioner Joe Brand, who was very instrumental. It wasn't actually my idea, I didn't come up with it, but it was somebody who works for the city, Maureen Walsh, who reached out to me because she knew how important hockey is and the ice arena is to all the residents, and especially it does attract visitors. So, and then I find myself now that we're going to have a state-of-the-art Zamboni that could keep the ice very smooth and everything, because now, once I retire, maybe I'll start a women's hockey league. Thank you.
We'll get another ambulance, Denise.
All right, any other, Mr. Hodge?
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, from the east to west, the north and the south, from Nevada to Maple, from the bay to the ocean. I just wanted to stand to speak about this Zamboni. Not the Zambonis that had the best sandwiches in the city by the sea, not Joe Zambonis that I remember going to get the best breakfast sandwiches or lunch sandwiches. Not that Zamboni, but thank you, Joe. Thank Maureen Walsh, for who I went to school with, Maureen Walsh, for giving that call. See, we have a lot of residents that have connections, and we don't always need consultants and spending a whole lot of money if we just call on our residents for help. Thank you, legislator Denise Ford. I went to school with her daughter. She helped me win Homecoming King in '93. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your service. As you said, you're retiring, but yet still helping. Once, as the president of the West End Neighbors, worked very diligently with her to get a lot of things done. She did a whole lot of stuff. And so we thank you for your service as you get ready to retire. And I just literally wanted to stand up to just say thank you for helping Long Beach and taxpayers save money. And thank Joe for having a good Zamboni's restaurant, deli, at one point in time. Thank you, Maureen Walsh. Again, James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street. Thank you, President and Council.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments from the public? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item 4.
Okay. Item number 4, resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance amending and restating bond ordinance adopted May 17, 2022, in the amount of $165,759,695. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on April 4th at 7 p.m. Item number 5, resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premises 917 West B Street, street floor, Long Beach, New York. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on April 4th at 7 p.m. Item number 6, resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding city officers, their general powers and duties. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on April 4th at 7 p.m. We will now move on to the voting.
Okay.
Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 1, ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding special events? Okay. Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Posterly?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
No.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes.
Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 2, resolution authorizing the retention of consulting service as amended?
I will.
Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Posterly?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes.
Who will introduce and adopt the adoption of item number 3, resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into intermunicipal cooperation agreement with the County of Nassau to receive funding for the purchase of a Zamboni and related items?
I will.
Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Posterly?
Yes, and thank you, Maureen Walsh and Legislator Ford.
Councilmember Lester?
I'd like to echo those thank yous. Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Thank you, everyone. Yes.
President Bendo?
Again, thank you, and yes.
All right. Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 4, resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance amending and restating bond ordinance adopted May 17, 2022, in the amount of $165,759,695. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on April 4th at 7 p.m. Who will introduce?
I will.
Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Postoli?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes.
Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 5, resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premises 917 West B Street, street floor, Long Beach, New York. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on April 4th at 7 p.m. Who will introduce?
I will.
Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Postoli?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes.
Who will introduce and move the adoption of item number 6, resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding city officers, their general powers and duties. This item, again, is for publication only. A hearing will be held on April 4th at 7 p.m.
I will. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Postoli?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
Yes. I think that's, yeah, so,
All right. We will now close the meeting. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Who will second?
I will.
Councilmember Postoli?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember McInnes?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President Bendo?
yes.
All right. Now on to good and welfare.
Okay, so, in case we have any new faces in here, for good and welfare, you have 3 minutes to give us your comments. And let's see, we will start with Ron Paganini.
Evening, Ron Paganini, 62 Harmon Street, Long Beach. I was at the special meeting the other night. I enjoyed it. Working on the budget early, but I was a little disappointed in the fact that, you know, we're going to charge more fees. So it's going to be a little impact on the people. Not that it's final, but we were talking about raising fees, cutting the beach hours. I know our rec hours never went back to normal, you know, for the weight room and swimming. There's less swimming there, basically, and that's a long time. So, what I'm expecting, maybe I won't get it or not, but, you know, the meat and potatoes, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I eat fish too. But besides that, you know, the overtime is still on the menu. The overtime is still on the menu. There's nothing came down, no memos to slow it down or whatever. Hiring, yeah, if you need people when they leave, yes, you should replace them. But to go overboard, I don't think we should be doing this right now. Grade changes, out. Promotions, out. We got to stop it. We have to remember, now listen, we're teeter-tottering of the SS Long Beach going down. The overtime, the $5 million must be addressed. I'm going to come here every 2 weeks. We only got like 6 weeks left, and we have to do something. If we don't do something, I think we're doomed. Okay? A lot of people are going to leave. We can't take a 5% or 4%, but if we do get under the cap, which we still could, without the overtime, it's possible. That's fine, but the future is not fine with that. I ran with you, and I'm going to say it again, and we all said we would fix this problem of overtime in our biggest unions. We can't live like this. It's only going to escalate. As the police, they come in at 56,000. Thank God it's like 10 years, they'll get to 100 or 11 years, whatever it is. We have time with the police. But as far as the firemen are concerned, we can't do this anymore. And I don't want anybody fired. I said that. I don't want anybody fired. You can give them their salaries. We can keep them. They'll do a little less work. That's the way to go. You guys have to initiate it. You know what I'm talking about. Nobody gets hurt. If somebody came to me and I was working for the city and they said, Ron, oh, your specs are this, this, and that, but don't do this and don't do that. Am I getting the same pay? Absolutely. So I couldn't complain, could I? Could I go to PERB and say, they screwed me? But please, guys, we have to get to this point. We only got 6 weeks. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Rod.
So as you're walking back to your seat, which is a beautiful sight, Ron, it really is. Enjoy the walk. I do want to address a couple of things just so the public understands the situation that we're in. When it comes to overtime, especially in our fire department and police department, these are all contractual issues. And when you're dealing with contractual issues, even though we can see managerially a better way to structure things, if the contract doesn't let us do it, we can't do it. Here's a perfect example. We know where our shortages are in our fire department right now, right? We know that our shortage and the primary reason that we're expending overtime is because we don't have enough paramedics to staff our ambulances. And at the present time, our starting salary for our paramedics is well below market value. So we can't get paramedics to take our position because they're not coming here for $20,000 or $30,000 less a year to start that they can get anywhere else in this county or across this area. So we have to negotiate that salary with the fire department. We have ongoing negotiations with and they are represented by the same union as the firefighters. They're in the same union. So we can't unilaterally say tomorrow all paramedics get a $20,000 raise in their starting salary. That breaks the rules. And if we did that, there was a bus company that tried to do that actually up in Westchester County, I believe. They decided unilaterally because they couldn't get enough bus drivers and it was bankrupting the district that was doing it to give them a raise. And when they went in front of their hearing, the hearing officer, which was PERB, they not only had to reduce the salary, all of the overtime that they did not pay their union members because they hired people to cover it, they had to give to their union members for not even working it. So the difficulties that we have are all covered by law. We're being very cautious. We're working very diligently with our unions to try and come up with a negotiated settlement. It's moving forward. As you know, Mr. Barrios left, who's our corporation counsel. So for the couple of weeks, we're taking a little bit of a break. We are diligently working on getting another corporation counsel. We have outside counsel that also represents our interests in this regard as well. If I had the power to wave my hand and reduce overtime and just get people paid their salaries, it would have been waived a long time ago. We're working on it. It's not falling on deaf ears. It's just that we have to do what's legally right to protect the interests of the city. And also those workers have rights, and we're not going to violate those rights either. So that's just the way it is for us now. I don't want to get into the actual negotiations that take place in that room because that would be illegal, but we are actually working very diligently to try to do that.
Okay. Eileen Hession. I don't think the cord's long enough to reach you.
I was trying to wear you out, Eileen. Did it work?
Eileen Hession, Long Beach. I was definitely going to pass because what I was going to talk about didn't happen. But Commissioner Walsh, I know that you know how convoluted the whole situation is. And every time they say it's union or it's contractual, I think, well, somebody made that contract. Somebody
Yes.
made those agreements. And at this point, perhaps the firefighters themselves can see that making the huge salaries that they're making is unfair to the city. To me, it's unfair to me. My taxes are going up because of, I don't know how many men, 90, 1,000, I don't know how many there are, but
In the fire department, 18.
yeah. How many?
18.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. We hired 2, right? And one more tomorrow.
All right, Crystal.
So, just so you know, Eileen, we are actively trying to hire firefighters to try and reduce it. It's going to be a process. One other thing that I do want to address, we are not in dire financial straits. I wanted to clarify that. The city is solvent. The city is liquid. We are on much better financial footing when I look back historically with the comptroller over the first several months. As a matter of fact, when she came in here about 4 years ago, we had $200,000 in our fund balance to keep us afloat, which is nothing. We have $10 million in our fund balance now. So we have money to keep ourselves operational. We have money to keep ourselves safe. And we're doing every single thing that we can without leaving one stone unturned to try and reduce the impact to this city for any sort of levy increase. We're looking at fees, we're looking at revenues, and we're looking at trying to cut some levels of operational services that we provide. Everything is being looked at. Nothing is going unturned. Decisions haven't been made yet, but they will be made in time for a published budget to be put out and for this council to have something to consider and make changes to. And we started our process a month and a half earlier this year with 9 actual agreed upon dates where we can sit and we can have open discussions in the public. I commend you, Mr. Paganini, and some other people in the audience for coming to those meetings. I encourage everyone to come, and we've received emails from people in this audience for suggestions on things to look at and cut, and we're trying. But we're also trying very desperately not to decimate the services of the city and ruin the quality of life that the people in this room have grown accustomed to have. And it's a very difficult balance.
Commissioner, Acting City Manager Walsh, can you also clarify what the fund balance is, and now that we have a fund balance policy, which we did not have before?
So our fund balance are unallocated funds that can be used for emergencies, if you will. So it's a rainy day fund, if you will. But here's the problem. If you start to take fund balance and you start to use it to pay your operating expenses, your fund balance goes down. How do you replace it? So let's say we decided, you know what, we have $5 million, we could take the $5 million out of the fund balance and pay Haberman. That's one time. Our tax levy stays the same. The year after, now we're $5 million shorter, and we still have $5 million that we have to pay the next July. It fixes nothing except short term, unless you can find a way to increase your revenue to cover the difference. So the wrestling match that we're doing now is, how do we increase our revenue? How do we cut some things out of our budget so that the levy is reduced as much as we possibly can, while we don't touch our fund balance, and we restructure the way that we manage our I guess you would say, our lines in our budget and our departments. The restructuring that's taking place right now is starting to actualize some savings, and we're trying to figure out what that's going to be. The budget isn't done, and we can't sit here and point them to you until those decisions have been made and put in the budget document. That helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake. Good evening, everyone. Happy birthday, Miss Treston. You're welcome. I would like an update on the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Project and the online page as well. In addition to Governor Hochul's proposal, the housing stock that is available is almost non-existent. It's an affordability component. Whether you're a renter or a homeowner, you pay bills. The prices of everything are astronomical and increasing day by day. And to give you one even better, I'm just going to keep it totally honest with everyone. Many residents across the state, across the country, are rent burdened. I myself am included. My rent increased by $600 per month, plus all utilities and water. So yes, I listen to the news, I read. There is an affordability problem. Now, Bayfront is a possibility. The superblock, extremely expensive. They may have workforce housing available, but I don't hear much about it or any affordable or reduced rent capacities or components. I listen to the news. The average rental in New York City averages, I believe they said, from $4,800 to $5,100 for a 1-2 bedroom. And the prices are not far off here as well. So I do understand both sides. However, the problem and the dilemma is the affordability component. And that should be addressed across the country, across the state. Any questions? Any questions?
Well, just so you know, the superblock, the rentals will have 10% affordable. The problem...
No, 10%
Workforce.
Workforce, sorry. The problem is how the state defines that. And the way the state defines that around here is they consider affordable about $2,800 a month. That's, by New York's definition, that is affordable here.
Okay,
So-
depending upon the size of the household and income?
And,
It could vary.
Quite frankly,
vary.
if you're a new college graduate making $60,000 or $70,000 a year, $2,800 is not affordable. If you're a senior on fixed income, $2,800 is not necessarily affordable. Unfortunately, that's the way New York is defining it.
And I think that's why it, excuse me for cutting you off, that it should be addressed. I'm retired, I'm a senior, okay, and I'm paying, there's basically almost nothing left. And I deal with it. I pay my way as I'm supposed to. However, is it fair? I mean, residential displacement has been occurring since the Indians, and it has continued for a century or two, decades. So to replace that lost housing stock, which we all get older, we all don't want to spend 70 to 90% of our income for mortgage or for rent or whatever the case may be. You want to live, enjoy your golden years, as we all should be able
Right.
to. That's just my
I'm sorry, but
opinion.
I'm just going to say the time was up.
Okay,
Let it
thank you.
beep a
Have a
little
good evening.
longer so
Happy
that-
birthday.
Thank you, so they hear it.
I'm just going to address the critical infrastructure piece that she asked in the beginning.
Okay.
So just real quick about the critical infrastructure, as you walk back to your seat, Crystal, I signed some contracts this week that Joe Fabrizio had presented. The contractor, Joe, is it next week they start staging, or this week?
They're staging probably this week.
Yeah, so it's this week they're going to start staging equipment for the actual work in the back. We're putting up a time-lapse camera back there so that it's going to be updated. The website will be built out once we start getting the actual, something to take pictures and give you an update on. But it is all staging, and they have to be completed within 1 year. So, 18 months, right. Right.
I'm trying to schedule the consultant to come in. I was looking at April 18th for the city council meeting to give a presentation on the project. That's what I'm shooting for.
Yes.
But I was looking at the 18th possibly to have an architect come in so they can give an overview of the project.
Can't get in right now. Yeah, sure. So, just so everybody hears, I'll give you a synopsis of what Joe is saying. So, sometime around April 18th, we're trying to schedule one of the consultants to come in to go after an overview of the entire project. We actually, Council President Bender just said to me too, we should try to do one up in the North Park area for the residents up there. So we'll try and find a location there. Hopefully, we'll be able to get into the MLK to do that, the North Park Community Center to actually do that at that time. Anything else that I really missed that was major? I mean, that will be to give you a synopsis of the actual program at that time on the April 18th meeting.
When does the 18-month clock start, Joe?
When the contracts were signed, actually.
January 25th, and it's supposed to, so it should be completed, 20 months actually, it should be completed, I believe, the end of December next year.
Okay.
December of 24, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, Roy Reynolds.
Okay, I recognize a former Jones Beach lifeguard here.
What do you mean former? What do you mean former?
Last time I saw you, lifeguard
He's still
forever.
lifeguarding.
Lifeguards forever. Jones Beach?
Yeah. Field 6.
You straightened out the JM situation?
Yeah.
Okay, good, all right. That's good news.
And a
All right.
former surf kayaker. Great one.
Using up my time, man. Okay, yeah, good evening. My name is Roy Reynolds, and I'm actually from Suffolk County, so I appreciate you not holding out against me. I'm working with a group of concerned citizens here in Nassau and Suffolk counties, and we're involved with voting integrity, especially the voting rolls. It is our goal today to raise your awareness of voting irregularities in New York State, and we're going to ask for your help. Recently, we have been reviewing the New York State voter rolls, also known as the New York State Voter Database, which of course includes residents of Long Beach and Nassau County. The voter rolls are supposed to be an accurate list of people who are eligible to vote. In the 2021 copy of New York's Voter Database was obtained and reviewed for accuracy and integrity. The data came from the New York State Board of Elections, the county voter rolls, and New York State Secretary of State. You should have a copy of a report that we submitted to you today.
Also received an email from you.
Looks like that? Okay. All right. And the report we submitted to you was sent to you last week and is a result of analysis of the database. The report is known as the Deficits Report, and it found serious inconsistencies in the voter rolls. This affects residents of Long Beach and New York State. What the report found is that the voter rolls are not accurate. Unqualified voters are voting, and the number of votes are not equaling the number of voters who vote. As an example, for the 2020 general election, the report found over 338,000 more votes were cast than voters who actually voted. There were over 740,000 ineligible votes statewide. Over 2.4 million New York State voter ID numbers were assigned to less than 1.2 million registrants. These 2.4 million registrants are known as clone voters, which have multiple voter ID numbers and can vote, and in some cases have voted, multiple times in the same election. There should be only one state voter ID per voter. Clone voters have been found in Long Beach and the counties throughout the state. The report concluded that a full end-to-end audit by professionals is warranted. To this end, we could use your support. In the upcoming weeks, a resolution will be submitted to you for your consideration, calling for a statewide audit of the New York State voter database. The voter rolls have been compromised and need to be corrected. We need your help. So I know there's one other person who would like to speak on this issue, so thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. And this is probably it. Barbara Cataletto?
God bless.
Okay.
You promised not to hold it against me that I came with Roy, right? You promised not to hold it against me that I came here with Roy, correct? Thank you. Hi, my name is Barbara Cataletto. I live at One Watch Way, Lloyd Neck, New York. When people don't believe elections are on the level, that's the beginning of the end of this bold experiment in democracy that has gone on for more than 200 years, as stated eloquently by our own New York State Senator, Mr. Schumer. We had questions and concerns that arise in that information that's in the report from the New York Citizens Audit Study and Deficits. It must be remembered that this information is derived from New York State open source data that can be retrieved by all of you on the dais. But it is already available in both substance and volume. It has been captured, analyzed, documented in detail by high-level professionals at New York Citizens Audit. This analysis was received so well that it will be in a scientific journal in the next few months. The degree to which you want to investigate is totally up to you, or collectively up to the representatives of this town. The audit team stands available to discuss, disclose, and debate any of the information that's on the report, while allowing for a productive dialogue that will permit the development of a bridge of trust and remedies for the ills that have permeated our elections and voter information systems over the decades. Our goal is to find solutions to the obvious failures in the New York State election process, to bring our state back into compliance, one village, one town, and one county at a time in New York State. We need to be aligned with the voter roll regulations for both federal and state law. This is not as complicated as it seems, and with the focus on the future removed by the faults of the past, we can promote healthy, robust voter confidence for all New York State citizens. Please review this document, contact us for additional information or a formal meeting if you feel that is necessary, and please be prepared to sign or reject a request for resolution at your next meeting that would work towards an approval of an end-to-end audit of our election system so that we can attain a goal of fair and free elections in New York State. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you happen to be a 501c3 organization according to the IRS?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not in the organization. We're just volunteers.
Oh, is the organization a 501c3? I can't find it on GuideStar, so yeah, I can't. Okay, thank you.
All right. Nora Egan. Okay. Wanda Brooks.
Evening, Wanda Brooks, East Hudson Street. I apologize for the outburst. I want to wish you a happy birthday. At the end of the month, I also will be 28. Now, you said that the North Park infrastructure project has not begun yet?
The contracts were signed. They're in the early...
Joe, would you step up to the mic if she's going to have dialogue? Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. The contracts for the project were signed on January 25th, and they're really in the early stages of the project right now, which basically involves like a lot of submittals. Like, for example, they have to put in a cantilever steel bulkhead system, so they have to get the submittals approved by the consulting firm, and then once it's approved, they order them, and then the material gets delivered to the site. So the first month or two is a lot of things that are done behind the scenes that you don't see. Plus, they're going to be actually mobilizing on the site. You're going to see a trailer or two delivered to the site. They're going to be blocking off the entire site with double swing gates, so like you won't be able to access Riverside north of Park Place or Reverend J.J. Evans Boulevard, because that'll be all closed off. So the whole waterfront in that area is going to be closed off to the public, probably within about a week. And probably within a month, you're going to start seeing a lot of activity down there. At the beginning stages of the project are a little slow. But I did just text the consulting firm that we're dealing with and asked them if they could come on April 18th to give an overview of the project with a PowerPoint presentation. And I think they're going to do that, and if that's okay, we'll have them here before the meeting. And then maybe schedule one in the North Park area subsequent to that, if that works for everybody.
And who's going to be doing the project?
The company's name, it's a joint venture between Pasilico Construction and Beauvais. It's a joint venture between those two, which are very large companies. And the consulting firm that we're using that's overseeing the project on the city's behalf is D&B Engineers and Architects. So D&B Engineers and Architects will likely have two representatives at the April 18th meeting, prior to the meeting, and we'll give you an overview of the project. And I'm actually going to request that a representative of the contractor come as well from Pasilico. When I spoke to them earlier, they said they would do that, have someone present, so if you have any specific questions about construction, they could answer them.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And Mr. Hodge.
Wanda, if I don't see you, have a good birthday.
Yes.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in the great city of Long Beach, from Nevada to the Bay, from the ocean to the Bay, Nevada to Maple. There we go. Happy birthday, Ms. Tristan. I would just like to say, we said maybe in a week streets may be closing down. The majority of people that use that area in the back are people that are in North Park. I won't ask you if you agree. I know I've been living there my whole life. Born here in 1976. And if it's going to close down in a week, I don't know why we haven't did more due diligence in letting the immediate community know outside of the whole city. And then we said maybe we'll meet in the North Park Community Center. I want to say that the city council named the center the Martin Luther King Center in 1981. There's a plaque with my second dad, Harvey Wiesenberg, and Roy Tepper, and so many other great people that went with the organization there that named it the Martin Luther King Center. And I want to remember the name because a lot of people try to forget history, and that's how history gets thrown away, like, they're trying to do in Florida. But I want to keep the history in Long Beach. That's called the Martin Luther King Center. So that's that. And if we want a meeting, did anybody reach out to the board and say, hey, listen, we're the landlords, we want to do a joint meeting at the center? I know we said we will reach out to them, but I think the community should know as soon as possible. We want the critical infrastructure project to happen immediately. But when you respect the whole city, you give everybody enough advance notice what's getting ready to happen. I don't care if it's a street painting. You getting ready to do a major job. Rodents will be running from the bay in North. People need to prepare and get ready. Let's respect from Nevada to Maple, from the bay to the ocean. That's why I always talk about it all, because this area don't get respected like everybody else. And I say everybody should get proper notice. And we said we're getting ready to hire a corporation counsel. This young man been here for a long time. He can look at contracts and look at different things. And then we're hiring, I guess, longer time for the consultant to hire a city manager. You guys are the they voted on you. You're receiving taxpayers' money. You can't get a committee of all of the people, all of the things that this consultant is doing. There's people in Long Beach that probably would do that for free if you bring a committee together to search for the city manager with our city council, and we don't have to pay. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many consultants we have, you do what you want to do anyway. Most times, more than most. So I just think that we can save some money when it comes to consultants. My time is out. I said happy birthday. I talked about this good attorney. And I said, that's the Martin Luther King Center. So all of you have a good night. I love you. And just know that let's continue to pray for the Tina, don't wave your head. I love you, and I love all of you. God bless. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night. And we should thank you for not adding 30 minutes to tonight's meeting. All right. That was it, folks. Thanks for coming tonight, and everybody get home safe.